Welcome to the annual PNC Rocky Mountain Area Chamber of Commerce Economic Summit. This is, I believe, Rebecca, the 5th consecutive years that our friends at PNC have been the presenting sponsor. And Jim, Rebecca, and all the team members at PNC, we thank you. We could not be here without your assistance. Before we get started, there are some individuals that have played a key role in putting today's event together. First and foremost, Mr. Kenneth Hunter with the City of Rocky Mountain. Kenneth works almost year-round on this project, and once again has arranged an outstanding panel and has worked tirelessly to make this a great event for you. Next, I want to thank David Joyner and his amazing and award-winning, I might add, team for providing a delicious breakfast and arranging a handsome setup for today's gathering. One of the people who make David look good is a gentleman by the name of William Bourne. I don't know if William is with us. William is an executive chef. And some of you ladies who attended our Women's Leadership Conference this past March, you heard David's story. And it's quite an amazing story. He's a local product. He came up the hard way. He's had a lot of knocks in his life, and he's turned his life 180 degrees. And I think he's part of the secret sauce for this event center. Our friends at Davis Furniture for once again providing our furnishings. They are another great downtown business and a long-time chamber member and supporter. And we want to thank our table sponsors, which you'll find listed in your program. And last, and certainly not least, my team at the Rocky Mountain Area Chamber of Commerce for all the hard work they put into today's summit. Let's give them a round of applause. It is now my pleasure to introduce you once again, to our good friend, Mr. Jim Hanson. Jim is the Regional President of PNC Financial Services, and Jim is no stranger to Rocky Mountain and is a great supporter to our chamber and a champion for economic development. Please join me in welcoming Jim Hanson.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be with you. We have a heck of an agenda ahead of us, and in quite interesting times as we watched a market move from being down yesterday to up over 700 points based on just a few comments of the Fed Secretary. And so you are not here to hear me, you're here to hear these great economists, but on behalf of the over 500 employees from PNC that call the Twin Counties home, truly thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to be with you all, and thanks for your partnership with us. And I look forward to a great morning here in front of us. So thanks a bunch. We appreciate it. Guys, all right.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Kenneth Hunter, and along with over 900 fellow co-workers of the City of Rocky Mountain, we welcome you to the Rocky Mountain Event Center for today's Economic Summit. This morning, we are joined by a distinguished, experienced, and knowledgeable group of panelists who will share information and insights on the current state of our economy and provide an outlook for the coming year and beyond at the global, national, state, and local level. First, I'd like to introduce these individuals, and they will go in order as listed in your agenda. We are very fortunate to welcome by remote our keynote speaker, North Carolina Secretary of Commerce, Michelle Baker Saunders. Secretary Saunders was appointed to her position by Governor Roy Cooper in February of 2021. Enlisting her experience as a former administration secretary, strong background as a business leader, and her extensive knowledge of what it takes to build a globally competitive workforce. Secretary Saunders' vision for North Carolina's post-pandemic economic restoration is to work with partners to attract better-paying jobs, support small businesses, and stimulate our state's innovation and entrepreneurial economy. Her bold and purposeful leadership aims to ensure North Carolina's diverse state is an inclusive one that works for all people. Secretary Saunders brings 30 years of strong management and leadership experience to Commerce as a seasoned pharmaceutical and biotechnology executive. A a graduate of North Carolina State University with a bachelor degree, a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry. Secretary Saunders also has a Master of Health Administration from Dufferin University. Joining us here as well on the panel from the North Carolina Department of Commerce is Assistant Secretary of Rural Economic Development, Kenny Flowers. In this role, he provides guidance for the department in its efforts to support rural communities and help foster rural prosperity. Prior to joining NC Commerce, Kenny served as the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Community and Regional Development and East Carolina's University's Office of Innovation and Economic Development. Kenny has also served as Director of Rural Development at the North Carolina Department of Commerce and as a financial analyst to the Appropriations Subcommittee for Education at the North Carolina General Assembly. Assistant Secretary Flowers received his Master of Public Policy from the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor and his bachelor degree in Public Policy and Political Science from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. We are very appreciative to welcome back this year Dr. Gus Fauché, Chief Economist for the PNC Financial Services Group. Gus serves as the principal spokesperson on all economic issues for PNC. Prior to joining PNC, Dr. Fauché worked for Moody's Analytics and the U.S. Treasury Department, as well as teaching at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Dr. Fauché is frequently cited in international, national, and regional media outlets, including the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and he is regularly featured on CNBC, CNN, and Fox Business. Dr. Fauché earned his PhD in economics from the University of Pennsylvania, and he also earned a BA in economics from Cornell University. From our coast, we pleased to join us today Dr. Mushin Kutabi, Associate Professor of Economics at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. Dr. Kutabi recently joined the UNCW faculty from the University of Alaska Anchorage, where he was an Associate Professor of Economics. He earned his PhD in economics with emphasis on urban and regional economics from Oklahoma State University. Dr. Kutabi is an applied microeconomist with two main streams of research: the effect of natural resources on households and communities, and the socioeconomic effects of unconditional cash transfers. To provide us information on what is happening here in the Rocky Mountain region, we are pleased to welcome two key individuals involved in local economic development. Norris Tolson has served as CEO and President of the Carolinas Gateway Partnership since 2016, providing leadership to an organization focused on our local industrial development. His long and distinguished career includes past service as North Carolina's Secretary of Revenue, Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of Commerce, President and CEO of the North Carolina Biotechnology Center, and member of the North Carolina House of Representatives. Norris's public career commenced after retiring from 28 years of service from E.I. DuPont de Moores & Company. With DuPont, he held various domestic and international research, marketing, and sales responsibilities. An Edgecombe County native, Mr. Tolson graduated from North Carolina State University with a degree in crop sciences and agribusiness in 1962. Our next panelist, Susan Phelps, joined Nash County as their first hire for their Department of Economic Development in 2017. Since then, she has led and coordinated business, commercial, and industrial development projects throughout the county. Prior to working with Nash County, Susan worked for the City of Rocky Mount, Granville County, and Summit Hospitality. A native of Oxford, North Carolina, Susan is a graduate of North Carolina State University and East Carolina University. And finally, once their presentations are concluded, we will show a video provided by Greg Bunn, President of the Nash County Farm Bureau, providing an overview of agricultural production in our area for the past year. Thank you to all of our panelists for their participation and attendance this morning. As we proceed with the presentations, please share with us your questions by writing them on the note cards provided at your table. You will see that there's two stacks of them along with some pens. Individuals will be around to pick them up, and we look forward to asking your questions to our assembled group of panelists toward the end of today's session. And now I will turn it back over to David Ferris.
Thank you, Kenneth. I've been told I have 45 seconds to sing to you, talk to you, or just have a moment of quietness, and that's impossible for me to do. as it's seen. I want to welcome our panelists today, and we do look forward to hearing from Dr. Saunders in just a few moments as Kenneth is bringing her up. She is a big supporter of the Twin County area and economic development. She's always willing to lend a hand or send people in here that we can use for particular projects that we're working on. I will tell you a quick story about Susan. When Susan first came here, she was hired by the city of Rocky Mount. And her first day on the job was a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And it was raining like a hurricane blowing through. And it was a barbecue, the Down East barbecue throwdown. And it was dumped in her lap. And I do mean dumped in her lap. And I remember after talking to her how impressive she was, and I thought she really is going to do some great things here. And then the weather hit. And I thought, God, don't let her leave with the weather. Let her stay. And she has done what I thought amazing things. Well, and now I will leave you to Secretary Saunders.
Great. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for making accommodations for me to join you. I wish I was there with you. I'm actually in New York, advocating for North Carolina on the business meeting, and so thank you for making this accommodation. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you to Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to join virtually at this annual economic forum and to reaffirm together that Rocky Mount area is positioned as a premier destination to live, work, and play. And I hesitate because I might start saying this is my favorite part of the state, but it is my favorite part of the state, Eastern North Carolina. I love all of North Carolina, but I'm a native of Eastern North Carolina. I know that we have a shared vision to help position North Carolina as a leader on the national and global stage, to be recognized as one of the best places, and we have been recognized as the best place to do business in the U.S. We want that to continue. We also want to be recognized as the best place to work, to be educated, to visit, partner and collaborate, and of course, best place to live. And I like to say that we are definitely well on our way to becoming the envy of the world. And North Carolina Commerce and our partners included David Harris and the Rocky Mount Area Chamber, my dear friend Norris Colson and the Carolinas Gateway Partnership, Chris Chung and the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, as well as National Expo Community Colleges and the Turning Point and Rivers East Area Workforce Boards. We are all rowing in the same direction. We're working closely together to achieve that goal, to attract even more investment, more businesses, more good jobs, and for our people and for those who are coming and visiting the state to Eastern North Carolina, and also promote and grow the innovative high-impact sectors that will provide good paying jobs, family-sustaining jobs well into the future, not just for today, but for generations to come. I believe that drives many of us to think beyond where we are today, but to continue to work so that our children and our children's children, the generations, will get to enjoy the full potential that North Carolina has. We want to work so that we are being inclusive of agribusiness, advanced manufacturing, life sciences, information technology, and clean energy, all of the sectors that are really important to our world at this time, and definitely important in North Carolina. And Rocky Mount area has a lot to offer companies, as you all know. Have attracted good economic development opportunities to our state. That has been over a number of years, thanks to many visionary and many leaders who have preceded me, who have done the great work as economic developers across the state for a long time, and definitely have done that in the region you're in. The Twin Counties are prime for economic success due to the location with the system of transportation networks connected to more than half of our country's population within a day's drive. And the new Carolina Connector will connect this area and surrounding Eastern counties to hubs across the country. Rocky Mount's area of diverse talent pipeline is strong. You know, it's nearly 150,000 strong, ready for the good jobs to be brought to this area like Wolf and Flow, X-Ray, Sara Lee in Edgecombe County, and Cornerstone Building Products, the Crump Group, and FFE Transportation in Nash County. And of course, Hubble Power Systems and Cosmos Company, that's just to name a few winners. Just those projects alone bring more than 550 new jobs, nearly $76 million in capital investment to the area. Thank all of you for what you have done to make this possible for the people in the region and for our state. So I'm going to highlight today some of our achievements. Of course, I'm going to talk about the First and Talent Plan. I never go without at least getting a word in about the First and Talent Plan and our work for it, not only because it is critically important at this time in our economy, as you guys know, with the tight labor supply. It's also important with, the inflation that we see. It becomes even more important because we want to enable, I want to enable people to have good paying jobs, to be able to meet the needs of their families and fill their dreams as well. And surely, employment is a way to do that and a pathway to do that, as well as many other things that we know, like education, healthcare, and infrastructure, all the things that make an economy a thriving economy. North Carolina, in spite of the pandemic, and I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir because you guys know this, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of inflation, in spite of all the challenges that we have dealt with and are dealing with in the state and in the nation, we continue to do well. As a direct result of our state's collaboration and partnership with many economic and workforce development partners, we've seen quite a successful time recruiting new companies in North Carolina into this region. Despite the historic crisis, North Carolina has remained competitive on the global stage, accumulating some significant economic development wins for our state. In 2021, North Carolina announced record 185 expansion and relocation projects and created more than 24,000 new jobs. Even more impressive was the economic investment that poured into our state from all over the world. A record of over $10 billion announced in capital investment. That was over a 60% increase over 2020. And we've already broken those records this year, having announced more than 26,000 new jobs as of end of November, and over $17 billion in promised investment. That doesn't happen by chance, it doesn't happen by coincidence. So what it does, how it does happen, is with great collaboration, great partners, a great product or asset that we have to show those who are considering a site location. And it's really the hard work of everyone, including all of you there, because I know you are equally committed and you put in the hard work every day to make our state shine and stand out and be the place that companies want to come to. Our Rural Economic Development Division, just to mention some of their achievements, has done extraordinary work. When I started in commerce, I have to say I had a keen interest on the Rural Economic Development Division in RED. Not only because it's near and dear to my heart and I connect deeply with rural North Carolina because I'm from Belhaven, North Carolina, the best of the best in the state, but also because it's the right thing to do. And if the state is going to continue to thrive, and if this state is going to truly reach its full potential, we are required and obligated, I believe, to do even more for rural North Carolina, where we can and whenever we can, and always with the consideration of that. And Kenny Flowers, who I believe is there with me today, has done an exceptional job in leading the red team, keeping his team committed, focused, and really putting rural North Carolina forward. I call him so many times on the phone and just say, hey, Kenny, this is going on, or hey, Kenny, can you talk to this person? He's always there, and his team is always there. And the results show just how much work they are doing. The Red Team, Rural Economic Development Division, has awarded more than $42 million in rural development grants this year to communities for upgrading public infrastructure to support economic growth in eastern North Carolina and across the state. And I believe Kenny will be sharing more about that work later. Global companies continue to choose our state for all the reasons that we enjoy. We have a business-friendly environment, a relatively low cost of doing business, shovel-ready sites, even though we filled a lot of those sites, proximity to ports, airports, and highways. We have an existing industry cluster of support, top-tiered and top-rated higher education networks, including our university and our community college system, workforce training pipeline. We have an excellent and unparalleled, unbeatable, I believe, quality of life. And North Carolina, compared to other places, is still a reasonably low cost of living. One of my daughters recently moved to New York. She lives in Jersey City because it's a little bit cheaper in Jersey City. But I've been blown away that, her one-bedroom apartment, which is not as big as our one-bedroom apartment in North Carolina, is more than my mortgage. I was like, what in the world? How do people live? And frankly, I'm wondering how she's going to live. But North Carolina still has a reasonably low cost of living. I recognize that we still have many people in our state who struggle, and homelessness is just as prevalent in some parts of the state. But yet, we've been very fortunate and blessed with what we do have and the cost of living that we do have. The greatest asset that we have in our state is our people. Our people make up our diverse and highly skilled, talent pool, and that has been an attraction to you. At North Carolina as a whole, we continue to win big projects like Wolfspeed, the largest economic development project for capital investment in the state's history, creating 1,800 jobs and promising $5 billion of investment to the state. VinFast, the largest project in our history, bringing 7,500 jobs to the state with a $4 billion investment. Apple was a transformative project that created 3,000 jobs and committed $1 billion of investment in the state. Boom Supersonic, the high-yield project, created over 1,700 jobs and $500 million of capital to invest. Toyota, the transitional project, created at least, I say at least because they say we're going to see more, we're going to see a lot more growth, created 1,750 jobs and $1.3 billion of investment. That project could potentially go up to over 3,800 jobs with $3 billion of investment if they proceed to phase 2. And of course, all of these companies and many others located and expanded to North Carolina have a multiplier effect, attracting additional national and global interest, investments, new businesses, good jobs, increased spending, new residents. Now, that's all good. We've also had record number of projects in our rural areas, and I'm sure Kenny may highlight some of those. Those projects are important, equally impactful, because I realize that, and I'll use Belhaven as an example, I realize that 10 jobs in Belhaven is just as impactful as the thousands that, I just mentioned, or hundreds that I mentioned, because of the difference in the makeup in Belhaven, the impact that it has on the families and the communities there. So all jobs that we create enables people a better way of life, I believe, and enables our community to be stronger, more resilient. So they all are important. And a win in any part of the state, frankly, is a win for our entire state. So no matter where they are, what zip code they're in, it is a win for the entire state. Now, beyond the numbers, we have been recognized for achieving great results, thanks to you and many others, like Forbes and site selection and business facility and CNBC acknowledgement. And the reason for that is because, companies continue to choose a needed destination for investing, building, learning, working, living, playing, a place where their employees can be comfortable and be successful. And that's what we offer in North Carolina. With many of you having your own businesses and development projects, working in the public and private space, advancing economic development for our state, you know best what makes North Carolina stand out and shine. And without a doubt, it's primarily because of our state's diverse, highly skilled talent pool. It's our people. The numbers are great. It is wonderful having the job announcements. But personally, for me, at this point in the term, at this point in my life, what is most important to me is being able to help people in the state fill those jobs. Can you guys still hear me okay? Okay, I got some background noises going that you can hear me. And of course, our state's economic success, has not been achieved alone. It's thanks to all the partnerships that I mentioned, the collaboration, the bipartisan support, the support of our governor, the support of our General Assembly, many local municipalities. It takes all of us to make this happen. So we have a lot to be proud of, a lot to be thankful for, and we have a lot of work to do to make sure that people are gaining the benefit and the result of all this hard work that we've all done. But with this great success, it becomes even more imperative that we focus on developing our skilled and ready workforce, which goes into one of the second points I mentioned. To continue to attract these big economic development projects and prepare for jobs today and tomorrow, we have to double down, be intentional and focused about workforce development, making sure that we're meeting the needs of businesses, that we're closing the gap there. Because I say it doesn't do us any good to create these jobs if we can't fill them. We know that there are some people who still have not re-engaged yet back into the workforce. We also know that there are gaps there where business needs may not match the skill sets that are available, or the pool of talent that's available. And so that's an area that we all have to do better and just double down and focus on. I myself every day I have these to-do lists, and I'll write my to-do list, and if I finish something, I put it on my to-do list and I check it off, so I feel really good about completing things, which is really just kind of crazy, I think, but I continue to do it. But every day, I have to, before I end the day, make sure I'm doing something that's going to improve, influence, touch on this workforce challenge that we have and the labor supply challenge. So, ready to support emerging and expanding industries like the agribusiness, aerospace, biopharma, fintech, clean energy, offshore wind, to name just a few. We must make sure that we are meeting business needs, that we are leveraging our strong university, our strong community college system, another, the training that we can offer, the apprenticeship programs that are offered, the internship, and also focus all the way back to pre-tech. As post-pandemic, as pandemic times demonstrated, conditions can change so rapidly. And the workforce has to be equipped with the skill to adapt and thrive if we're going to be resilient. It is so heartbreaking to me when I'm looking at my favorite restaurant and it's still closed, or it's closed, or there's just staff there. And I think many of us are still experiencing that. So we know that it's important to have our people equipped and skilled, and also have adaptable skills that we can transfer and move into different areas if necessary. Further investment in the state's workforce is going to ensure that employers have that talent pipeline and ensure that those companies continue to thrive. Last year, we launched the state's first talent economic development plan, which places a renewed emphasis on preparing our state's workforce for jobs of the future. And we believe the key factor in the plan's success is continuing to align with workforce development with business, recruitment, and economic development. The plan recognizes our greatest asset, our people, and prioritizes preparing North Carolina's workforce, businesses, and communities. You can find that plan on our website if you haven't had a chance to see it. You can also partner with many others across the state who are executing and implementing strategies like increasing attainment of high-quality credentials and participation in work-based learning. Those high-quality credentials can very well be gained through our community college system, which is a strong network and a strong player in economic development, or the university system or other modes of training. And so we're working hard with that plan. Importantly, the plan has recommendations for drawing more workers into the labor force by overcoming challenges like access to affordable child care, which is very important. I'm a big advocate for it. I'm a fierce advocate for affordable child care and enhancing opportunities for employment areas, like those with, who have justice-involved records, people with disabilities, all the differences that we have that sometimes have created barriers for some people. We have to overcome that and find ways to make our businesses adaptable, find ways to include those people and engage those people and open doors and pathways to get these people either reskilled, retooled, or just open the door for opportunities. Because it clearly is going to take more than the current makeup or the past makeup of talent that we have. We need everybody in this game, on this game, and improving the livelihood of all. You know, our governor repeatedly talks about and says and acts on it, that we need an economy that works for everyone. That includes everyone, not just some people or not just people like me or like you, but everyone. The plan also aims to empower businesses and entrepreneurs, startups, and to grow and attract the talent that's needed to be competitive and also to be successful. Some of the solutions are foundational, like programs and policy supports for productive work environment, which means that for businesses, and sometimes they have to increase wages or maybe physical infrastructure, healthcare access, transportation systems, which is a big one, and also that you know, I understand and connect deeply with. You know, I say to some people, when we talk about, you know, many students that have to go to McDonald's for example, because they don't have broadband to do their homework, which is a big infrastructure thing that we just have to completely revamp and get that done. We talked about it too many years. But you know, in places like where I'm from, Belhaven, McDonald's is a privilege and a luxury. Those children, they can't walk to McDonald's, it's 30 miles away, they could. And many don't have transportation to get to McDonald's. We don't have Uber, some don't have the resources, some don't have the transportation. So McDonald's, as much as it seems like it's a kind of a thing for everybody to walk to McDonald's and do your homework, it's actually a privilege and a luxury for many parts of North Carolina. And I understand that. So yes, we have to do better. We will do better, and we can only do that with all of us working together. Also in that plan, you'll see strategies that are grounded in diversity, equity, and inclusion, which are practices that should embed everything that we do and how we do things. We want talent to thrive across the state, bolstering our small businesses, women and minority-owned businesses, and that entrepreneurship is important. wide broadband adoption, which I mentioned, particularly with our rural communities, is important. So we believe that the state's economic development plan is not Commerce's plan. We launched it with input of many, Anita Brown and her team did listening sessions. We included the feedback from that. My predecessor, Tony Copeland, had given some feedback into it. When I started, I merely wanted the team to push a little further, be a little bolder, be a little bit courageous, and to really underscore the people piece of this plan, and we did that. This is the state plan, this is our plan for growing our state and growing and meeting the business needs, ensuring that we're able to fill the job today, prepare our communities for expanded infrastructure, growth and sustainability, and ready to work us for the skills of tomorrow. And hopefully the outcomes, we've already started to see some. Now, along these lines of workforce development, which is the last point I really want to kind of touch on and hit with you, the governor has worked and partnered across the state to prioritize workforce development and create these record number of jobs through the NC Job Ready initiative. And Commerce is an invested partner in this and helping to attract these jobs. We provide resources to better align economic development and workforce development, which we believe go hand in hand. And it's consistently a top priority for businesses growing here. For example, every local workforce board, may apply to the Division of Workforce Solutions for NC Job Ready Workforce Investment Grant in conjunction with the Economic Development Project. These grants support on-the-job training, incumbent worker training to assist companies that choose to locate here in North Carolina. The on-the-job training provides a partial wage reimbursement to an employer to help offset the cost of training your employee. Incumbent worker training helps pay for upskill an employee who have worked at the company for more than 6 months. And so that's another asset on our workforce development or another resource. Other resources are available to businesses that include NC Works, nccareers.org, and Navigator. These are all programs designed to help connect your businesses with skilled workforce that you need, and job seekers with training or career information. And of course, there has been a prioritization by the governor on funding support for economic and community development across the state. This is for continued job creation and to foster economic growth and recovery in key industries. The General Assembly has been supported. The great thing about economic development that I have found, like 99.9% of the time, is that we all know the governor and sometimes the General Assembly disagree on many things. We know that, but they work, and sometimes we only get the stuff that gets the provocative views and media attention. But the bottom line is, in working with the governor and the General Assembly directly, both entities, both parties want what's best for North Carolina. And that's a good thing. We've been recognized for our bipartisan collaboration when it comes to economic development with the CNBC news announcement where North Carolina was voted as the best place to do business. And so that is something that I think we cannot underscore enough, and maybe doesn't get enough attention, is that we have the executive branch, we have the General Assembly that want the best for all of North Carolina. And that's not to take for granted, because I was hearing just this week actually that from some site consultants, that's not the case in some states, and maybe even in many states, and I'm sure Norris knows this even better than I do. So we are very fortunate and blessed to have that type of collaboration, especially on economic development, which has a direct impact on the lives of all the residents of the state. And so our support and the work that we're doing demonstrates just how committed we are to helping companies thrive in Rocky Mount and across North Carolina. In conclusion, I want to just thank all of you for what you have done and what you continue to do. Focus on our economy, focus on the people, and staying focused on making sure that it's an economy that works for all people in this great state of North Carolina. And so we're continuing to work with EDP&C on business recruitment, business expansion, and aligning the needs of the companies with our workforce development. We're focused on helping both our global and our homegrown businesses, our small businesses, find success, find skilled workers that they need, and find the resources that we can provide them to become the great big companies and Apples of the world. Small businesses are the pulse and the lifeblood of our state and of our economy. And so we surely have to look out and be supportive there. Working together with the continuous support and the expertise of all the economic developers and all the workforce partners and the businesses, each of you, we will make North Carolina the envy of the world. It's a premier destination for people and businesses and families. And no one understands this better than North Carolina's chamber members, the businesses and the community leaders. You're out there advocating and doing a great job, great work for the region and for the state. You're focused on promoting North Carolina, building relationships, supporting economic development projects, all play an important role in our state's economic success. There's not one person that can do all of this or any of this alone. So together, I believe that we are uniquely positioned to transform North Carolina, transform our economy. I have great hope and optimism, and I am anticipating that even in spite of inflation, and in spite of whatever the looming news that has to say, I know, and you should know, that we can continue to thrive. We've already proven that we can do this. We had I believe, our lowest point in history with the pandemic, at least the lowest point that I can remember of experience in my years, and maybe some others. But this pandemic really shook us to the core, and we have continued to thrive. Fortunately and gratefully, we're all still here. We're all still working and to make this a state that is a greater state than we could even imagine. And so I look forward to exploring how we can work together to achieve the shared outcome that we all want, one for ourselves, one for our families, how we can make our state and our communities more equitable and more inclusive. How can we lift up rural North Carolina to achieve the greatness that so many of the residents want, every resident deserves, and the possibilities that some can't see right now, but I believe that it will come. It may not, and that will probably not come as long as I'm in this role as governor admin. I don't have, I think, 2 more years of that at best, maybe, we'll see. But because of the hard work of many of you for many years, and the continued work of people who will come after us, I do believe that North Carolina will become the envy of the world. Not the envy of the Southeast, not the envy of the Eastern region or whatever, but the envy of the world. And so thank you for all of you, all of your work. I wish you all a happy holiday season. Please be safe and be well. And I look forward to continued partnership with you. And thank you so much for the opportunity and for making accommodations so that I can Zoom in and be with you virtually. And I look forward to seeing many of you hopefully face to face. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Secretary Saunders. And next, Secretary Flowers.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good to be out here. It's good to be in Eastern North Carolina. Secretary Sanders talking about how much Eastern North Carolina meant to her. It means a lot to me too. Yeah, I'm in Carolina, but I got some purple blood in me. Worked at ECU for about 8 years. I know to wear a purple tie when I come to Eastern North Carolina. Right? had a chance to meet some very good friends, you know, a lot of you in the room, built some great partnerships. My good friend Eric Evans over here and I have worked together since before my days at ECU, did some wonderful things together, so good to see him. And a lot of you want to recognize Lige Daltrich. We have a Rural Infrastructure Authority that governs a big portion of our granting at the Rural Economic Development Division. Lige sits on our board, and he and Joyce Dickens from this area as well do a great job in ensuring that we give wonderful resources out to North Carolina's rural communities, and that's important to me. You heard Secretary Sanders talk about how important it was to her. Multiply that times about 100 for me. Grew up in Anson County, a rural boy in North Carolina, and the things that we do there are super important. I couldn't see the screen, but I kind of feel like Secretary Sanders disappeared a couple times this year. That happens with technology now. I disappear while I'm standing up here. It's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long day. But you heard the great things that Secretary Sanders said about what's happening in North Carolina. You've seen it, you read it. We're the best place to do business in the country, right here in North Carolina. And that happens for a reason. It happens with intention. It happens because we invest all across our state to make sure that all of the corners of our state are prospering and ready for economic development opportunities. And that comes with leadership, making sure that we have continued investments in our rural communities so that they are ready for those opportunities and the state is ready for those opportunities. We are very fortunate to have outstanding leadership across this state at every level. When you look at the governor's office and his team, legislative leadership and their commitment, all committed to rural prosperity in North Carolina, all prioritizing investments in rural North Carolina to ensure that we're ready for that growth and development, building strong communities together. North Carolina is one of the few states in the country that has a standing, robust rural economic development enterprise as a part of its overall economic development portfolio. You know what that means? That means that we're having those continued investments. It means that when businesses and the industries are interested in our rural communities, those investments matter and the readiness is there. It's about readiness for those opportunities, and having that piece of the puzzle in place allows us to have standing programs that we can layer together to put together strong incentive packages so that business and industry want to stay in North Carolina, grow in North Carolina, come to North Carolina, and become a part of this wonderful community. I'm proud to say that our Rural Economic Development Division is a big part of that enterprise, and we take pride in the work we do. We're charged with building some very strong partnerships with rural communities across the state, investing in economic growth and opportunities, and supporting prosperity. That's all day, every day, what we do. We have an amazing team that does it, a wonderful Rural Infrastructure Authority, others that support what we do, partners, internal and external to state government, that make it possible to leverage resources together to have super high level impacts. You know, we're charged with building those partnerships, and we're fortunate to have a number of very targeted programs that support engagement and also investments in our rural communities, opportunities to continually invest in those things that you know are important in a comprehensive way. Critical infrastructure, right? Building strong downtowns and main streets, very important part of what we do. Building strong neighborhoods and supporting housing opportunities across this state. Super important. We don't have enough resources there. We need to get more. Investing in building local government capacity. And I can go on all day about how important that is to our rural communities. Communities like Rocky Mount and Tarboro and small towns across the state. Nashville and Wadesboro, where I grew up. Things that we know that are important that we do on a day-to-day basis are sometimes more difficult in our rural communities, in our small communities that have limited resources. So that's very important. And also we invest in some very important projects. You heard Secretary Sanders talk about some of them that are super important in bringing jobs and investment and growth to rural North Carolina and to our state. Super important things that make a difference at the local level and build that portfolio for a stronger profile at the state level. Now, we have a pretty simple mission as a base of what we do: engage, enhance, and help transform rural North Carolina. That governs everything that we think about, everything that we do, how we build our programming, how we advance our programming at the Rural Division, how we expand those programs to be more responsive to the needs of North Carolina when we have things like a pandemic, and we need to be responsive and change some things so that we can support what we do, and also how we evaluate the work that we do. It's important that we understand that if we're investing in North Carolina, if we're partnering in North Carolina, are we having those higher level impacts that we need to? I believe, and I'll say it again, the only way that we can do that is to align and leverage and support of our partners, internal to state government and external partners, like many of you sitting in this room, because what we do is important, impactful, but it's not transformative if we don't do it together and leverage it together. You guys have worked enough across this state and in this community to know some of our programs, and I'll just mention them. Very, I think, comprehensive in addressing those kinds of issues that I talked about earlier. We have a good mix of federal and state programs that really give us a chance to leverage, as I talked about, and have higher level impacts, fitting together with other programs across the state. Our community development block grant program that's been around forever, as you know, supporting economic development and infrastructure and neighborhood revitalization, and now a new community development component. Our Appalachian Regional Commission, that's another federal program, focuses on our 31 westernmost states with similar programming supporting leadership development, workforce development, housing in neighborhoods, local government capacity building. State appropriated rural grants program that's super popular with communities here and businesses here, includes infrastructure and the ever popular building reuse program. And Edgecombe County, Nass County, the community, Rocky Mount, have all leveraged that program to a high degree, and we're excited about those partnerships are important. We have our Industrial Development Fund utility account that focuses on publicly owned infrastructure projects, that really focuses too on high priority put on industrial site development. Because as we talk about readiness, we all know that economic development product and readiness is so important. And we believe that giving rural communities an advantage there in readiness, with the infrastructure in place, all the pieces in place to take advantage of those opportunities when they arise. And as the governor and the secretary and legislative leadership markets this state to communities, they market those areas that are rural because those pieces are in place. So that's super important. Our key engagement program, and I say this all the time, we are a granting agency at the Rural Economic Development Division, but I believe that the engagement piece is just as, if not more important. Building those partnerships that can last long term, to build capacity now and have that sustainable over the long term. But our Main Street Rural Planning Program is our key engagement program. Rocky Mountain is an amazing Main Street program. There's others, but since I'm here, I'll just say Rocky Mountain. But it's an exciting program, part of a national Main Street program that leverages those opportunities to provide education and training in ways that support downtown development. And I will let you know, from a personal standpoint, I believe that our downtown districts, especially in our rural communities, are the most critical asset that we have. And when we leverage those properly, it's key advantage, critical advantage to bringing in community and economic development opportunities, creating a sense of place so we can all get together, understanding that that is the front porch of our communities many times, and it really makes a difference. And those are our foundational programs traditionally, but we are super excited about a new opportunity with the new program that we have rolled out in just the past year, our new Rural Transformation Grant Program. Really believe that this is an opportunity to build and expand on what we do now and in the long term, and create some wonderful opportunities for rural communities, fueled by a $50 million appropriation in the most recent budget, ARPA funding, that's one time. But we hope to extend this program, and we'll certainly be working with legislative leadership in the governor's office to see if we can do that. But an amazing program that provides new grant resources for downtown revitalization. Commerce, our division, hasn't had any direct funding that can support downtown projects since 2017, and the closeout of the Main Street Solutions program. So critically important, and I just gave my little spiel on how important I think our downtowns are. New resources for resilient neighborhoods, building broad-based neighborhood programs that can make a difference. Not just housing, but supporting housing opportunities with healthy neighborhoods, eliminating food deserts, creating green space, healthy play for kids, creating parks and recreation that support our downtown development, and create those wonderful neighborhoods that we know are important. New resources for community enhancements for economic growth that allow communities to remove barriers to economic development and community development. A wonderful new tool that I don't think has been done anywhere in this state that provides resources for property acquisition so that communities can take control of properties to remove those barriers and have new development opportunities. And finally, a category that supports local government capacity building broad-based comprehensive education, training, technical assistance partnerships, plus grant resources that help communities move projects along. The pilot portion of that community capacity building program is done in partnership this year with Appalachian State University, a new program there that provided on-campus and virtual training opportunities. Eric Evans is smiling because we did a similar program when I was at ECU. Eric was one of the first students in that class, and I think he was the valedictorian, so congratulations, Eric. But a wonderful program that brought in 19 communities, 38 local participants from staff that got that training, education, worked closely with our strategic planning staff, our rural planners, to build strategic plans or broaden strategic plans that they already had, identify priorities in those plans, and then apply for implementation grants through our Rural Transformation Grant Program to move those projects forward. So super excited. Our first round was opened in March of 2022. We have $50 million total for 3 rounds that we planned for March. We have a round that just closed recently. We're reviewing those applications now and plan to have a 3rd round in March of 2023. $50 million now. We had more than $50 million in requests during the first round for those grants. We were awarded $21 million wonderful projects that I think will be transformative. We are reviewing the process, the applications now for the 2nd round to close. We'll be making announcements. Listen up, because I know Rocky Mount and Nashville, I think, have applications in. No promises, but I did want to get you excited for a second. We'll announce those in mid-December, 14th or so is the expectation, so keep your ear out for that. But this round, we had $70 million in applications for those Rural Transformation Grant Fund. We only had $27 million left for the full program, so we're going to make some tough decisions. And then we'll have another round. We're committed to having another round in March of 2023 because we think it's very important to give communities, I've talked a lot about capacity, to give communities that have limited capacity, limited resources, and opportunity to get projects together and apply. What we learned during the coronavirus money is that when you put it all out there at once, excuse me, it goes quickly, and a lot of times it's bigger and faster communities that can get there that take those resources. So we made that adjustment and to make sure that communities that are small and limited resources that didn't have projects in play already had an opportunity. And we are super excited about that. We really believe that program is transformative and a gateway to the future in terms of building broader partnerships with local governments and having more direct investments. We would love to have, and I can't ask this at the legislature because I can't lobby, but we'd love to have recurring resources to support that program long-term so that we can address that high-level demand because those projects are so important and we think so transformative. So excited about that. Secretary mentioned some of our rural programs that she mentioned, a number of investments. We are releasing our 2022 annual report today. Lodge has seen it because he's on the inside and gets a chance to see it early. Sashi, I'll call him up here and have him tell you this. But in 2022, our total awards to rural communities in this state across all of our programs was $113 million, making those investments over $143 million over the past 2 years. During pandemics, that level of investment this year supports about 200 projects. Last year supported about 175, 180 projects in the same range. So opportunities to really continue to invest are important. We believe the work we do is super important. We do that with partnership from you. I say this, and I said it earlier. At our core, we are community builders. And when I say we, I mean that collectively. It's about us. It's about the legislature. It's about the communities. It's about business and industry partners working together to really make a difference in this state. And I see we're doing it. You know, we are really committed to ensuring that North Carolina is the envy of the world. You heard the Secretary say it, and when she says she's been big and bold about everything, she's big and bold about that, and she says it to us, and we say it to our teams. And we believe it, and we believe it because we've got partners like you. And we look forward to that continued partnership. So impressed with what you're doing here, seeing the wonderful things that are happening around the state and around these 2 counties here, and then Rocky Mount. And we really want to continue to do that. So let us know how we can partner moving forward, and we'll let you know how we can continue to invest in the communities. Thank you so much, and congratulations all.